This episode is proudly sponsored by HASA, the trusted choice for liquid chlorine. It's better because it offers the highest purity, works instantly, and contains no added CYA. By the bottom feeder, professional-grade battery-powered swimming pool vacuum system, it sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off the bottom feeder with code DVB100. Skimmer, trusted by over 30,000 pool service professionals across North America. Skimmer software helps you save time, grow revenue, and boost your 5-star reviews. Whether you're just starting out or expanding your team, Skimmer's easy-to-use tools and expert support have you covered. Upgrade your business in 2025 with Skimmer. Try Skimmer for 30 days for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to kind of do something, I guess, a little tongue-in-cheek, where I'm going to go back in time and change a few things if I was able to, and I'll keep it realistic. I'm not going to go back in time and buy Google stock or Amazon stock or sell my Disney stock. I'm going to just go back in time and do things that are actually things you can actually replicate and do at this moment. Join my coaching program and take your pool service to the next level. Connect with other pool pros in your area, gain valuable knowledge, and transform your business with personalized one-on-one advice from me. With over 36 years of experience, I'm here to help you succeed like never before. Learn more at poolguycoaching.com. So I'll start with the thing that always bugs me and something that I kind of am always second-guessing myself on. Is in 2005, I bought a Nissan Frontier. Now, it's not a terrible vehicle. I like the fact that it's really roomy. It has 4 doors. Of course, I got the 4-door version. This particular year had the spray-on Kevlar bed, I think that's what it's referred to as. And it was actually running well at the beginning. But I've learned from researching later that you never want to buy the first year when they redo the model. So prior to that, the Frontier looked different. It was a totally different looking truck. And they upgraded everything from the engine to the interior. So whenever they do that, you are kind of like the beta tester for that truck. Hate to say it that way, but that's the reality of it. So you want to research if you're going to buy a truck, the best model year for that truck. Like for example, when I bought my Honda Ridgeline, I wanted to buy a good truck, but I didn't want to take the hit with a new truck. So I researched the best model year for the Ridgeline, which happened to be 2019, and that's the year that I purchased, 2019. It had 37,000 miles on it, so it was like a really low mileage truck. An older gentleman had it, took it to the dealer for all the work, so it was a perfect deal, and I did a lot of research on that. There's been a few recalls, but they've been like really minor. With the Nissan Frontier, I didn't do that research. I just saw a really good sticker price. I think it was around $17,000 back then. It's really a good price for a truck that's fully loaded, as it had a lot of features. Well, the features back in 2005 were limited, but nonetheless, it was a fully loaded truck. But the first thing that happened to the truck was the fuel gauge failed. So I didn't know when I was empty or when I had gas in my truck. It was a weird thing that happened with the fuel sensor that I replaced. It wasn't actually a recalled item until much later, which is kind of weird, but I had to replace it early. Then it had a problem with these random check engine lights coming on all the time. It had a problem also with the battery being drained really rapidly. I never had a truck battery wear out as fast as the Nissan. And eventually the engine failed at 100 plus thousand miles, 120,000 miles or something like that. Not terrible, but it was limping along for a long time prior to that. And it's one of those things where I threw a lot of money into this truck, changing parts. I did the timing chain twice. I put a new motor in there. Fortunately, the truck is still actually in use and in service, so it's actually working. But it wouldn't be my first choice for a truck. I would have done more research, and I would have gotten a truck that had a stronger reputation. I regret not buying a Toyota Tacoma back then. I really liked the Tacoma, and it was a low profile body, it was lower to the ground than the newer versions. and I probably should have went with a Toyota. But again, a Nissan was so inexpensive back then that I couldn't resist purchasing that truck. And it got a lot of years of service, don't get me wrong, and it's still running, it's still functioning, and it's still a pretty good truck. I just wish that I had invested in a better vehicle with more research. And I told you this is going to be really practical so that you can apply this to yourself now and won't have to go back in time and berate yourself later. Another thing that I would wish I invested in was better work shoes way earlier than when I started wearing work boots. I think I started using the Wolverine boots in the mid 2000s, like 2010, 2012. Before that, I would just wear tennis shoes, and like a lot of pool guys, I would just rotate through different tennis shoes. I would have 3 pairs, and I would wear 1 pair each day so that when they get wet, it would dry out. I didn't really think about my footwear as much. I wouldn't say I developed any long-term problems, but it's one of those things where the waterproof boots are essential and they come in really handy out there. I did slip a few times in the tennis shoes, and it was probably not the best gear to wear out there. I don't think a lot of guys thought too much about footwear back in the 1990s and 2000s, but I realized that the work boots really are going to save me. Now, it's funny because the first work boots that I bought were steel-toed, and these were really great because I would hit my toes on stuff, and it would be really good not to break your toes if something falls on it. But then I kind of moved away from that because I didn't really need them as much. And besides that, the steel toe would be exposed a lot by me kneeling down and rubbing the front on the ground. So it's not necessary to have the steel toe, but it may be an extra layer of protection for your feet. I think it's something that you could invest in. I just like just the regular work boots. I wear the Columbia brand boots. If you go to my website, swimmingforlearning.com, in fact, on the very bottom of that page is pool guy gear, and I have my boots in there. I also regret not wearing nitrile gloves much earlier as well. I started wearing latex gloves for a while, but then my hands started getting these weird rashes from it. And then I went to the nitrile gloves, but before that, I didn't wear gloves really at all out there, which is a shame because I think my hands have definitely suffered from that, not having the gloves on. Besides that, the chemicals are pretty harsh out there, and I should have been wearing the nitrile gloves my whole career, but regrettably, maybe half my career I started wearing these gloves. You'll see them in my videos. They're the black gloves you're going to see in all my videos that I'm wearing. Great for handling tablets, great for handling muriatic acid, great for doing repairs and cleaning filters. You're not going to scratch your knuckles. They actually saved me. I fell recently when I was doing a renovation at one of the rental properties I had. And I happened to be wearing the gloves because I was outside doing some work, and I fell and I scraped my hand on the steps really badly. And fortunately, the glove took the brunt of the damage and nothing really happened to my hand. I didn't break it. It didn't need any stitches. It just scraped the skin off the top. And these gloves have saved me out in the field as well from removing filter bolts, all these things that I could have scraped my hands with. The gloves really help. So if you go again to my website, swimmingpoollearning.com, there's a link to the boots I have there and to the nitrile gloves that I wear on an everyday basis when I'm working out there. Work gloves are essential, and I really think that if you're not wearing these gloves, you should get them now and put these gloves on and wear them everywhere you go. And as far as the boots, you definitely want to protect your feet, and you want to you want to provide long-term care for your feet by keeping them dry out there. So those are things that you can implement now, of course, and I would highly recommend really good work boots. If you don't get the Columbia boots, the Wolverine boots are good, and there's another boot on Amazon called the Ever boot. It's a pretty good boot as well. Here's one that I think a lot of people can relate to, and that's waiting too long to purchase a vacuum system or to get a vacuum system for my service truck. And this is something that I saw a lot of guys driving around with a Hammerhead, and I didn't invest in a vacuum system until a little bit later in my career, which I regret because it came in really handy. They haven't been around forever, so it's not like you can get it back in the 90s, but I believe they've been around for a good 25 years now, and I probably waited a good 10 years before I got my first vacuum system, and I really think I should have gotten it much earlier. It's just a really fast and effective way to vacuum out a pool and to get the large leaf debris out. the Hammerhead, the Riptide, the Bottom Feeder. All these are great vacuum systems that you can invest in. And I really think that if you're on the fence about it, you don't use it as much. Let's say you use it maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and you're like, it's not a really great investment. I hardly use this thing. But when the winds hit, and believe me, we just had one of the biggest windstorms of the century here in Southern California. When those winds hit, you have a vacuum system, you're really not hurting as badly as everyone else out there. What looks impossible to clean becomes very possible with the vacuum system. One thing that one of my members of my group realized, with all the ash in the pools in his service area, that the bags would just blow right off the top of the vacuum systems because the ash would fill the bags up. Then, of course, it would cause back pressure and the bags would come off the vacuum system. So the green pool bag is essential for that. And what he had was a regular Riptide bag. Cut the inner layer of the bag out and just use the black mesh, and that's very successful. So sometimes they're great for ash cleanup if it's not too heavy, but if you're like directly in the burn area, it may be way too much ash for those bags. But the vacuum system bags are great for large leaf debris, even some fine dirt, 100 micron, 75 micron bags, and they're just a great way to vacuum a pool rapidly. So I really wish I had a vacuum system much earlier in my career, and waiting so long to get one probably took years off of my life with all the strain on my body using the leaf rake to get leaf debris off the bottom of the pool. I just recently did a webinar on investing, and here's another kind of a regret. That's not buying more houses when I had the chance. In fact, and not that I'm complaining because we have a pretty good sized portfolio, but there were a lot of deals that I passed up that I probably should have jumped on. One thing that we have in our philosophy of investing is not having a lot of debt. So we wanted to invest with a lot of margin. We didn't want to have 80% in loans or 90% in loans, because we had a friend who back in 2007-8, he had 7 houses. He had some out of state. He had a lot of them in California, and they were all completely 100% leveraged. He had really no down payment. He got these with zero down financing. He moved from one house to another. The out-of-state homes are cheap enough where he could put a small down payment, which he borrowed on for the down payment. So he was 100% leveraged, which means that he had really no equity. And then when the market turned south a little bit, he kind of panicked and he did some short sales, and he had a couple repos and completely lost everything that he owned. And we didn't want to replicate that formula because that's not a winning formula, of course. And so we're pretty averse to a large amount of debt, and we don't want to have anything over 50% of our net worth in debt, because then if something happens, you have no access to any liquid funds to kind of weather that storm, which is what happened to this gentleman that lost everything. So we had that philosophy, but we did pass up a lot of pretty good deals because of it, and maybe it would have worked out okay, maybe it wouldn't have. I think our philosophy is solid, and I'm not saying that we should have changed anything, but there were a few deals, a few houses that we probably could have picked up really inexpensive back in 2008, 2009, 2010, which we didn't. Thankfully, we didn't sell any of our real estate back at that time, because then we would have lost a lot of money, because that was the lowest point in real estate in California. We just held on to things and kind of weathered that storm. But yes, I think everyone who does any kind of investing realizes that they kind of missed the boat at some point, whether it's, GameStop stock or Bitcoin or even real estate. If you haven't bought anything in real estate now, it's, and you waited all this time because you were going to save up money and buy something later, the prices have just skyrocketed. The inventory is really low. The selection of properties are lower. So you may have missed the boat on some real estate deals if you didn't jump in 5 or 6 or 7 years prior to this. And we've been purchasing properties over the years. So it's kind of like one of those things where you buy at certain different times. It's a different environment. And currently the environment is really good deals, really bad financing, but really no competition. So it's not actually a terrible market. It's just something that you have to be really picky and choosy about. And since I'm talking about real estate, here's another thing that it's kind of a regret. but not entirely a complete regret. And that is, we should have been more focused on multifamily homes early on and not later on. I know that the single family homes kind of built some experience for us and we kind of got some knowledge and skill. But I think if you're purchasing homes now in this day and age and you're an investor, I would focus just on duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. I would just be laser focused on multifamily. And no matter what single family home is on the market that looks like a good deal, I would just pass it up. There's a lot of them here that we could have bought in the last 3 or 4 years. They were dirt cheap, needed some work, but they're just single family homes, and the rent return on that is just not going to be enough with the current financing situation. So I wish we were more focused on multifamily earlier. Of course, we're strictly focused on multifamily now, but earlier that would have been a lot better. We would have had a bigger multifamily portfolio. And again, I'm not complaining about anything. I'm just saying there are some regrets. And if you've done deals, you're going to have regrets of things that you lost out on or someone outbid you on, or opportunities that you should have pivoted. And, I like the single family homes that we own. They're really nice, but they don't bring in nearly as much rental income as the multifamily homes do. I think one of the biggest regrets people have is just not jumping in and investing when they could have, and then they waited way too long, and then they can't invest at this point. So it's one of those things where it's a catch-22 in a way. If you kind of wait and time things, and you wait for things to be perfectly timed for you to jump in, chances are they're not going to be perfectly timed at that point. There's going to be other factors that are in play that short circuit the fact that you were waiting that long because you wanted things to be more ideal. And that's something that I tell everybody, is that there's no perfect time to buy real estate. If you wait for the rates to drop, prices go up, competition increases. If the rates are high, you're paying a lot more money in interest, which you are writing that off on your taxes, by the way, but you're not having as much competition, and the prices are relatively flat. So you really can't time these things, and I would not suggest waiting around to time the market to jump in. Same with the stock market. Buy low, sell high. You really can't time that market either. Where's the low? Where's the high? No one knows. After this last year, you thought it was at a high, but it wasn't. It went up 30% more, and you just lost all that investment power because you were waiting for the right moment to invest. And that's just not how it's done. If you buy anything today, stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, real estate, 20 or 30 years from now, you're going to thank yourself for being a genius, no matter what the market looked like at that time. Because 20 and 30 years from now, everything is going to be much higher, even higher than what you purchased at if you're thinking you're buying something high. So again, just don't time things and wait for things, because that's not how investing works. And so I hope you've been paying attention here, and you're going to take some things away. Get a better truck, get better foot gear, better hand gear, invest early, take better care of your body, of course, because what good is having millions of dollars later if you can't enjoy it because you have, injuries, or you have skin cancer, or, you don't live long enough because you didn't take care of yourself. So I think there's something to be said about having a balanced approach to everything. Having good health is important, eating right, exercising, and also investing so that if you are fortunate enough to live a long life, you're going to have the resources to provide for you and your family. With that said, I think there are things that, everyone regrets. There's mistakes that everyone makes out there, and learning from those mistakes are really important. But I think true wisdom is learning from other people's mistakes so that you don't repeat those mistakes in your life. So that's the definition of true wisdom: learning from other people's mistakes and not necessarily learning from your own mistakes and regrets. If you're looking for other podcasts I've recorded here, you can find them on my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. On the banner, click on the podcast icon. That'll take you to a drop-down menu where I have over 1,600 podcasts for you to listen to. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.